And so, but since that time, and especially more recently, there are multiple numbers of worldviews. And what you said, Pastor, is so easy to happen that we
Yes.
think we're talking to one another. We think we're communicating, maybe say, let's say we think we're communicating the gospel,
Yeah.
but we're not paying attention to where the other person might be coming from.
Right.
And so I think one of the values of this study will be we should be more open to and more ready to understand the other person.
Yes. And a moment ago was raised the issue of consistency. Reality is, most of us carry a lot of inconsistency in our thinking. We hold things that are contradictory, and he gives some examples in the chapter about that. Well, we do that too, right? So another goal is clear thinking, to follow this through. If I have a commitment to this, then how does that move forward in all the other beliefs and experiences?
Somewhere in there it says, what is obvious to us may be a lie from hell to our neighbor next door.
Right.
So I say something I believe and they might think I'm the devil.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Talking about me. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see that often. I watch an old TV show called Bones, but a forensic anthropologist who helps the FBI solve crimes. And she's a flat out materialist. And so anytime that her partner, who becomes her husband, talks about God or his faith in Jesus, it's dismissed as just impossible, right? And I mean, that's a great example of a worldview. She has a certain set of assumptions, what must be true and what cannot be true. He has a different set. Um, and often that will bring them into conflict together. Well, that happens for all of us all the time. You have a purely scientific culture that we're embedded in, or a materialistic culture. That stuff all comes to play.
That's that reminds me of quite a few years back. I took a study, and the study that it's like this. The study makes you aware that when you're trying to minister to someone, as Bob is to this other person, you need to know where they are, what their thinking is before you start presenting what your beliefs are. So you have to know who you're ministering to and what their, I guess, what their worldview is
Right.
before you can know how to minister to them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I would say in that example, Pearl, it's also important for you to know your own worldview.
That's true.
Thinking of Leslie Newbegin makes the case that what's needed is we have to have a certain confidence and surety about where we stand, to have deep understanding. And only then, from knowing where we stand, can we actually dialogue with somebody else.
That makes a lot of sense.
They believe.
And there's a lot of self-examination to make sure that what you believe and you're standing hard on is really true.
Right. Yeah.
Like that.
And that you really believe it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, we hear about university students that go away to university for the first time. They've only just ever taken on board unthinkingly whatever the church or their parents has said is true. Yeah, 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 that's all good. And then they hit an environment where there's suddenly a plurality of different ways of thinking, different sets of assumptions, different critical apparatus, and they are shook because they have never taken the time to actually sort through and make decisions, take on commitments, do their own
Is
thing.
this my faith or my father's faith?
Right, yeah,
No, that's just reality. It's not like
Mhm.
they didn't, that's how they were brought up. That's how they were growing.
Mhm.
That's where they thought everything's in that lane.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
But then
lots of time you fall away.
somebody shook the lane.
Yeah.
So it's not that, we were in air or something when we were living at home or whatever. You get exposed to more things, and that's where you have to start. You're growing. The
Mhm.
whole process of sanctification is coming in now. We're
Yeah.
learning more, we're grasping more.
Yeah.
So it's a light process.
although there has been people who don't go to university. That's a dangerous place. Don't interact with the world. I mean, I hear it all the time. I won't say I hear it all the time. A fear to really engage in honest dialogue, to be able to listen, to be able to take what we believe and do some evaluation ourselves. There can be some pretty weak faith,
Yeah.
weak views of the world out there.
That's right.
So we have what he calls the 7 basic questions, and then he adds an 8th one. So it's probably good for us to, as we work through, to come back to these. And it's been a long time since I read this book. I think I had the 2nd or 3rd edition in 1995 or 6 when I took a class that featured this book. And Brenda read the 1st edition in 77 when she took a class at Regent with Sire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, so number 1, what is prime reality? The really real. So that's interesting, right? What is the kind of the backbone of society? And he talks about the Big Bang Theory, right? Like there's just this cosmos there that just suddenly appeared. And of course, there's there's God, whatever we might mean by that word right now. And next week, we'll talk about the theistic worldview. What is the nature of external reality? Meaning, what is the world around us? And so again, it's kind of, where does this come from? What is a human being? So that's a big question, right? What are we? And it's good to see that there are several optional answers, right? Again, we make an assumption that everybody has the same kind of thinking as us, just seeing what's there, right? A naked ape.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
Well, that's evolution. You're
Okay,
descended
okay,
from
yeah.
apes
Ape,
that
they
over
lost
years. So in the
Yeah.
materials world, that's all that you are. You are just the next evolution of that animal. You are the naked ape. What happens to a person at death? In other words, is there anything after this life? So that's metaphysics. Why is it possible to know anything at all? Right? So that's an important question too. What's the basis of our knowledge of things? How do we know what is right and wrong? Really big question today, right? In a post-Christendom world, what is the basis of our morality? What is the meaning of human history? Is human history meaningful? Or is it just a series of events that have happened? And then there's this personal, life-orienting core commitments are consistent with this worldview. So this is that reflective that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Self-examination as we go through and as we encounter our own and others, you might find that you have been a bit of a magpie throughout your life. taking this piece from there and that piece from there and trying to make something cohesive that maybe cannot be cohesive. And it's time to unpack the nest a little bit, clean things up. Anything you want to say about the 7 or 8 questions in that section? Brenda, don't be afraid to jump in. I don't know how you do in a group setting but
Well, I'm thinking about this book differently than when I read it the first time, you know?
yeah,
40 some years can make a difference. And I guess part of what I think is when I think about my neighbors and connecting with them, I think back in my 20s, I thought more about how can I argue them into the kingdom?
right.
You know, how can I be so persuasive with a kind of apologetic approach to Christianity that would make it
They can't
interesting
escape.
and yeah, and now I think about instead of that, I think more about how it would help me understand my neighbors more thoroughly than I do just by knowing what I see on the street or on the veranda when we talk and what I know of their life experience. But I just think I need to be able to understand them in a way that I didn't really care about understanding them when I was younger. I just wanted to influence them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I do very much so. I have held in my breast similar aspirations in my life.
So love first,
Yeah, yeah.
persuasion second.
Well, even just authentic encounter
Yeah.
with the other person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To simply be the non-anxious presence of Christ in a normal conversation, to understand the other person and what might be good in the midst of the assumptions that they hold, the beliefs that they have. And again, I think of my thesis, right? My Min thesis is if these other kind of cultural expressions are parodies of the kingdom, then to some degree that indicates a hunger for the authentic kingdom. And if we can understand the nature of the hunger, then there's a way to compellingly present Jesus as the fulfillment of that desire, right? So if there is a desire for meaning, we can understand whatever the philosophical, theological language or stories. I really like that he talked about stories being the way that we communicate. Then when we present the story of Jesus, we can present it along those lines, right? Your life is deeply meaningful because of who Christ is and what Christ has done.
Well, this is making me more excited about this book now. So my head was hurting when I read it the first time.
Right.
Oh my word. But
Yeah,
it's,
likewise.
this is deep but it's good. It's a good deep.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a good deep.
yes.
Yeah. Better getting to know other person better.
And yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an
what you-
opportunity, yeah,
Yeah.
to examine the set of assumptions that we carry. Okay. What's that?
Oh, nothing.
So glad I closed that door. He said, Jim. Dear. And that is an accurate assumption. As I've been with you for years.
Any final thoughts before we go to prayer? Here's a question then before we go to prayer. How does chapter 1, this introduction and the the putting on the table the idea about worldviews, how does that begin to shape your prayer life?
It moves me more to the meaning of pray without ceasing.
Okay.
That in that, and it's not just, that's not a ha-ha, it's a reality to be so connected in interactions with words, with, you know, our whole being, that conversation. And that's been on me for a while now, and it's really something I want to just keep grasping. Pray without ceasing, pray without ceasing.
Others? Do you have a sense of how this chapter might influence or inform your life of prayer?
I think it will help us pray for our neighbors and the people we come in contact with by having a better understanding of their the context. You know, when we interview young potential pastors on the mega board, we have a whole category called contextual awareness. And you know, it's one thing to be aware of yourself and how you were raised and how you approach things, but it's another thing to care enough about your neighbor to try and understand what it's like to be him or to be her. And today I went and got my hair cut. You like? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
And my hairdresser and I were alone for quite a long time. And she just started to pour out what it's like for her to have her son move away to Winnipeg to go to school. And, you know, she's a single mom, and she has certain little quirks in her approach to life that I'm becoming aware of. And part of today, I think part of my awareness was the fact that I was trying to see her in the context that she's lived in and is living now.
Yeah.
But, you know, while she was putting all these funny doodads in my hair, the tears were streaming down her face because I think she thought I heard her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't just so quick to, well, I know a better way. You know, I was being human with her.
Yeah.
And God helped me do that. And I think it called me back to some of the things I'd read in here. But um, people around us are in complex situations that are really struggling for them, even though they look like lively young businesswomen, you know, bright as a whip. But, you know, we need to see the people in the world they live in and understand it. Because living in a world where you can't talk to God without ceasing, without feeling like you're some kind of a kook. Do you know what I mean? I need to understand what it's like for her to live in that world.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think this is going to be good for me. I don't know about you guys, but at a time in my life when I need to re-examine some things. Well, I guess that's me my whole life, been re-examining things.
Oh, we're glad you're here. Thanks for.
Thanks for letting me come. And you
I think Brenda, you brought up you used the language, examine some things.
yeah.
And so to respond to the question about how it'll approach or change our approach to prayer, I think one thing it'll do for me, I think it should make me more humble in coming to God in prayer. Because, you know, we can think, I mean, we know the language of, you know, the Christian worldview,
Yeah.
but he mentions that uh, it's not just what we think we have figured out. In fact, we probably haven't got it figured out as well as we think we have, but it's what we say and what we do.
Yeah.
So uh, that humbles us.
Brenda, I had a similar example today at the gym. I visited with this young guy who I just, I was waiting for the hydro massage, and I said, well, you going to school, you working? Well, I finished school for 2 years. I've got my marketing diploma, but I haven't been able to get a job. And I'm thinking now to be a mechanic. I'm thinking, ooh. So I go away, then I come back, it's a 10-minute wait. So I'm praying for this guy. I'm like, Lord, let's meet this one. And I came back and I just wanted to encourage him. And I says, just keep putting out those applications, and keep trying, because, you're a nice guy. You're sharp, you're personable. You should be able to get a job where you want to get a job. And he was vacuuming, then he stopped and he's going, thank you. I needed that. Fist pumped and away we went. But this young boy was discouraged. I've gone to school, I can't get a job, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll be a mechanic. That just broke my heart.
Yeah.
Broke my heart. So, yeah, I want to pray for Earl tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna sign out. Leave you to your prayer time.
Oh, you don't want to pray with us?
No, you pray for us and our situation, and I'll pray for my church here too, and pray for your church too, because my heart is there. Both Randy and I are very interested in what you're about,
Okay, Brenda.
and we appreciate it, everybody who came out on Saturday and helped us celebrate. It was a great time. So, yes, but I will leave you to your own church's prayers.
Okay.
All right? Thank you.
Night.
Good night, Brenda.
Bye-bye.